What's up, guys? How you guys doing? This is a BP. Here I am. I'm interviewing Thomas Scoville and Duches, who are two admins from the Alchemy Exchange channel. So I'll go ahead and let Duches, you go ahead and just take the lead after that. Just kind of share what's going on in your world in the Alchemy channel.
Well, hey guys, how are you? Good deal. Okay, so the Alchemy Exchange channel is a new digital ecosystem for consumers, advertisers, and publishers. Thomas and I don't work for the company. They don't even know we're doing this podcast today. And we're not financial advisors or anything like that. That's not the point of this podcast. It's to familiarize people with what's wrong with the advertising industry and how it can be fixed. And so just real quick, Alchemy's motto is bad ads broke the internet, fix the internet with ads. And ads is their token to their ticker, ADS with the little dollar sign in front of it. And so this is a token economy, and it's going to be run on the layer 0 hypergraph transfer protocol. Because as we discussed in our last video, the Lattice Exchange podcast that we did, the hypergraph transfer protocol is going to be the new internet. And it's the only protocol that can support the entire internet for the entire globe, and that also can verify data in real time by using their own on-chain oracles. They verify this data in real time at the source, not just the transaction, but the actual data itself. So it's basically a miracle, a modern miracle, and we'll be hearing a lot more about that. But Chorley, Chandru, and the developer, Neil, and Ben Putley, the CEO for Alchemy, they all have had, different experiences in the advertising industry, and they've come together as a team, put their brains together, and realized finally that their vision can be realized because they have the technology to build it on. So I'm not super technical on the advertising industry side of it, but Thomas is, and that's what I brought him, in for today. He's going to kind of give us a once over about who's who and what's what. And as far as the motto goes, I look at everything through a humanity lens, a sort of, accountability sense. And I'm like, what is the problem that we're fixing here? And how is this solution going to work? So after bad ads broke the internet, fix the internet with ads, I also would add the internet broke society, fix society with ads. So I'm going to let Thomas take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Duchess, and thanks everyone for your time. So I guess, it's a big, bold motto, and I think a lot of people would agree that ads are inherently something that they don't like. Ads interrupt what they came online to do. They interrupt the TV show they're watching. People inherently just find them annoying. I work in the advertising industry. I make a lot of that stuff. It saddens me that people kind of hate ads, or that's how they talk about them a lot of the time. But to be fair, it's not so much the individual ads. Some people have their favorite adverts. Everyone talks every year about the Super Bowl and what the great adverts were. It's the volume of ads that's the problem. It's a quantity issue. And on the internet, if anyone's been on the internet, for more than 5-10 years, you've just seen a steady increase in the number of ads on every page you visit, on every app you use, and it's just got worse and worse and more intense. It's impossible to scroll down a page now without just accidentally clicking on an advert because there are so many of them. And that's a problem that Alchemy are going to be able to solve, because they move it from being a quantity kind of way that publishers monetize their websites to a quality one, being able to have less adverts, but more high quality ones. So you might be still interrupted occasionally, but those adverts are going to be more relevant to you, and there's going to be less of them, so you can spend more time enjoying the content on the website, on the app, on the smart TV that you came for. And that's really exciting to me, and really exciting to other people in the industry, and hopefully really exciting to consumers, because they'll enjoy that content more. It's beneficial for publishers who are going to be able to have people consume more content and visit more regularly because their pages are more enjoyable. And it's also going to be great for advertisers. Advertisers don't want to be interrupting everyone all of the time. They want to know the right people are seeing their adverts at the right time. And Alchemy is going to solve all of that. It's a real mutually beneficial ecosystem.
Well, let me ask you this. When you say it's going to be quality versus quantity, can you tell me why they decided that they needed to bombard us like this with ads? Is it because of the money? Is it because they knew that there was no queryable way to reconcile the books, and so bombarding people with ads and hitting their cookies and things like that would just create them money? Or what
Yeah, it's basically what we say. It's spray and pray. You buy the cheapest, largest amount of adverts you can get, and you hope to reach the most people, because the more people you get, the more likely that maybe a small fraction of them will actually look at the adverts, and an even smaller fraction of them will click on the advert and maybe visit your website, take some kind of action you want them to take. But it's just kind of it's got to the place where people have just been competing with each other, and have just had to kind of go there. But because there's been no real way of knowing those adverts definitely are reaching the right people, that those people are really actually seeing those adverts in the first place. It's something like 25 to 50% of adverts basically don't even get seen. They're kind of in the bottom of someone's browser window. They're not even they're half visible to someone. So you're not even getting a quality view of your advert when you buy an advert as an advertiser. So you just buy more to make up for that fact. But rather than just buying more to make up for the inadequacies, with Alchemy, you could know that the right person sees that advert. It's definitely being viewed, and so you can buy less and you can spend more on those adverts, more going to the publisher, that helping them create better content for the consumer, and again, everybody benefits.
Well, let me ask you also then about clickbait. It seems to me that we get more false information anymore from the internet based on a clickbait type title. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, not just harking back to what you said about it's not just fixing sort of the internet ads, it's actually fixing society, because I'm with you. A lot of what the internet has done with the sharing of clickbait and misinformation really has been harmful on society. And to be honest, publishers that 10, 15 years ago would have never dreamed of publishing kind of headlines or stories they are now publishing. They're doing it today because they've been forced into that position in order to compete. They have to get more people to their pages because they're getting so little for every person that does arrive, because their adverts are being sold so cheaply. Again, if Alchemy helps these publishers get more money for each advert, then they won't have to drive so many people and tell so many lies in their headlines to get them there. And this is the important thing to understand, is that one of the reasons why they're having to charge, or they're having to put so many adverts on and drive that traffic, is because not all of the money from an advertiser goes to a publisher. In fact, actually, only about 50% of the money an advertiser pays, so whoever it is, for a name, but say Nike, let's go this name on. They buy some advert space, right? They spend some money buying adverts on a bunch of websites. Those websites themselves spend a lot of money and time creating the content and space for those adverts, but only 50% of the money that Nike pay goes to website X when someone views an advert on their site. The rest gets lost in the sort of network of exchanges and third parties, all kind of take their cut all the way down until only a sliver of it gets to their advertiser, to that publisher, which means essentially that they're having to work twice as hard to get that same dollar.
Right. So basically, you're talking right at my alley. So what we've got 49% ad tax that is unaccounted for, which has made advertising fraud and rocket fueled that up to the second largest funder of organized crime in the world, next to drug trafficking. That's scary.
Yeah, that's right. And again, those basically, you've got bots out there pretending to view websites so that someone can kind of harness the money from those adverts to go and spend on God knows what, and taking that money, which should be going to a legitimate publisher, for creating legitimate content sort of away from them, which is tragic. And the great thing about Alchemy is it's going to totally change that. So what was like, as you say, 49-50% of money that's getting lost between all these intermediaries, adverts that aren't getting viewed, being seen by bots instead, that money is going to go much more directly from advertisers to publisher with a much smaller fee. So the advertisers are getting more money. So like if you're making twice as much for every advert, you've got a decision to make then. Do you keep showing that many adverts, or do you actually just reduce maybe the number of adverts you have on your page by like 20-30% so they're less cluttered, so that people enjoy your content more and come more frequently? So then you're getting a little bit more per advert, but you're getting more consumers come to your website, raising traffic, raising money. And again, so this mutual kind of like beneficial kind of relationship starts to be created the way it should be, the way that it hasn't been for some time.
Right. So let's talk about why Alchemy is better than, say, Facebook. Using, how Facebook always constantly has their ads, or let's talk about how come Alchemy is not causing the current advertising industry to have to change their behavior. You know what I mean? Like their servers and the way they've been doing business.
Absolutely. Let's just pick up on that second point first, because this is really important. That and when we're talking advertisers here, and I name someone like Nike, not picking on them, they're an amazing brand, but they spend literally hundreds of millions of dollars a year on adverts, right? And they have massive $1 million investments in the agencies they work with, the technology that they've created. They can't suddenly just go, we're going to do it a totally different way. They'd like to. There might be people within their organization going, I wish we could do something different. There are better solutions out there. And there are some better solutions out there, not as great as Alchemy, but there are some. But they're stuck on doing things in this way because of the massive amount of money they've invested in the way they do things right now. They're massive big ships, as it were, and turning them around takes a long time. What Alchemy are doing is they're actually plugging into the existing infrastructure. So what they
because of the DAG technology, right? To read any data type.
Exactly. So they can connect to anything. And the name actually is confusing for crypto people because it's called Alchemy Exchange. When crypto people think about exchange, they think about somewhere where you can swap your tokens, right? Buy and sell tokens. But in advertising exchange, it's kind of similar. But what it does is it matches advertisers who are bidding for advertising space, bidding for people's eyeballs that they can get their ads in front of, and publishers who've got space, who've got people viewing their content and want to place an advert in front of them to monetize it. What an exchange does is it kind of sits there in the middle and runs auction in super real time and says, this advertiser is looking for this type of person, this publisher over here has this person, and they're willing to sell you this type of ad space for whatever it is, 1,000th of a cent type thing. Do you want that? And in real time, they match those up and they pass through the advert from the advertiser to the publisher, and it shows up for you, the consumer, on that page. That happens, millions of times, every minute online. And that's something that requires super fast technology. It's too fast to run on something like Ethereum. That's why it will run on the Constellation Network. Because of its superior speed and infrastructure. So it connects those things together, and it could only happen, on that kind of network.
So the people that are, the consumer themselves, do they have to change their behavior to use Alchemy? Like, do they need to go to the Alchemy website? Or?
No, exactly. No, this thing, and this again, there are solutions out there. I'll name, like Brave, the Brave browser and their token, which is a really admirable, really bold idea that, if you download their browser, you can essentially get paid for visiting websites and their token because you're taking a share of the advertising cut, the advertising asset. That's great. And people have proposed different things across the years that do that. And blockchain feels like it's something that could kind of solve that with its small fractional payments. But the problem is it requires massive change for consumers. And the reality is most people are pretty happy with Chrome. And I've even heard recently, like investors and Brave said, I only just recently or haven't still changed my own behavior. And yeah, I know about it. So it's just not something that can get mass adoption. With Alchemy, as a consumer, it won't change anything. You will just see, hopefully, websites with better quality adverts on them, maybe being less cluttered, so you're benefiting. And from an advertiser and a publisher point of view, you've already got what we call demand and supply side servers, essentially servers that sit there doing your bidding for you, and this big option in the cloud, and you just basically will just point them at Alchemy, and instantly, using their technology, you'll have much greater transparency. So you're much more easy to see who you're buying an ad from, or who you've sold an ad space to, how much it costs you, etc. And you'll instantly be paying lower fees because again, because of the transparency and because of the lack of middlemen, will be costing you less. And all you've really done is reconfigure something you already have. You're not having to change your processes, you're not changing your code, you're really just pointing your existing infrastructure at a new provider. And these guys already use lots of different exchanges. You'd just be adding Alchemy into the mix, and you'd quickly be seeing much better performance, much better prices, much greater visibility from using it.
Okay. So could you tell us a little bit about how consumers can stake their tokens for bandwidth? Because we know that DAG or Constellation Network is the actual hypergraph transfer protocol is going to be Web3. We know that. And how Alchemy exchange users, the publishers, the consumers, the advertising companies, the branding people, all of that will need some internet bandwidth in order to operate. So how will the different ways that the consumers can actually make money on this?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the thing. I mean, if you're just a passive consumer out there, I'm hoping in a year or two's time that the web is just going to have a lot less crap adverts. It's going to be pages going to be a lot less cluttered. It's going to be more enjoyable. There's going to be less clickbait because publishers are more confident in their content and making more money from it. That's just that's going to happen for, which is transformative and amazing. But for people who are more in the crypto space who want to actually become part of this and actually invest in the ads token, there's an even greater benefit where you'll actually benefit from people out there, everybody out there who's doing adverts that are matched by the Alchemy exchange. So one of those ways is essentially going to be just by staking your adverts, because your ads rather. The Alchemy's client, the advertisers, will need to pay their fees in the ads token. So they'll either have to buy the token themselves, or they'll borrow those tokens from people who are staking them, and at which point they then will pay a portion of those fees to the people who are staking their ads tokens. And then obviously
it was a pretty good...
Which is exciting. Essentially, the bigger Alchemy gets, the more clients they on board, the more people that are seeing adverts that run through that service, the more money is flowing your way. Essentially, it's like a little bit like a liquidity pool and putting your money into that, but none of that nasty stuff like impermanent loss or slippage or any of that. It's just basically the more the network does, the more you'll be paid out as a percentage of the fees flowing through it, which is just super exciting. And then, of course, for people who are part of the wider Constellation DAG network, you'll be able to, obviously, if you're running a node there, you'll be able to help with Alchemy stake channels and so forth. The team haven't yet announced what the incentives will be for those, but we expect there'll be some great ways where you'll be able to provide bandwidth to the network and ads as part of that, which is again really exciting for part of the wider Constellation ecosystem.
Right. So basically, we are looking at an industry changer. Like this is amazing, because that 49-cent ad tax that we had talked about, all that money that gets lost in the hole and is unaccounted for and unaccountable. There's no way to query the data, no way to know if Nike got the money that they paid for, in ads. So this will this is all transparent, these exchanges on the blockchain, and Alchemy has knocked off everything except 3%, right? They're charging 1.5% to the advertiser publisher. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, obviously.
And then another 1.5% to who?
Well, I assume that it's just the advertiser, as far as I'm aware, because the publisher don't pay, so it's just that 1.5.
Okay. Okay.
And then essentially, and that 1.5 will then be split between people who are staking ads and Alchemy Exchange themselves, which is just incredible. And look, it's the savings are amazing. I mean, no business would say no to going from like 49% of their money being lost to some hole or middlemen down to like 1.5%, right? But just the greater transparency of knowing that your ads are definitely being seen, of being able to audit that is really important, because the businesses that currently are in this space, and they range from Google, so Google AdX is one of the biggest competing ad exchanges, through those sort of niche ones like AppNexus, who serve up lots of the adverts you get in mobile apps. They all basically they hide things. They make use parts of their system, just so they can take more money off of you. It's a very lucrative business.
Little shady.
It's a little bit shady. It's how advertising is evolved, and so this is really going to clean that up. It's definitely going to transform the industry and create a lot of innovation off the back of it.
Right. It appears that we're seeing a whole lot of willingness on the part of even some big media guys. Like, for instance, the podcast that Ben Putley did with Rod Bradley from CNN, right? Like, I listened to part of that podcast.
Really exciting.
Today.
And look, I mean, I've been working in the industry for 20 years now, and I've heard a lot of gripes from very senior chief marketing officers. And then the chief information officers of various clients, and they're not happy with the lack of transparency. They're not happy with the amount of money they lose for no real benefit to some of these third parties. They want things to change, but they also know that they're heavily invested in their technology stack, so they want things to change, but they want to not have to do a lot for it.
Right, yeah, they don't want to change
Finally someone's giving them the solution where it's kind of like, it's a bit of a no-brainer. We don't actually really have to do much more, but we're going to see the benefits. It's kind of like,
yes.
They're just going to do it. And I think it's going to change things, really quickly. Once a few big clients come on board and show how much better they're doing and how much more efficiently they're spending their ad money.
Well, I'm super excited about it. Let me just say that, everything that gets created, whether it be God creating man or man creating money for the exchange of goods, or us creating the internet for exchange of information, it seems like somebody out there always finds a way to corrupt it, right? And complicate it and whatnot. And this is one step forward for mankind in accountability and trust, and like bring the spirit of the internet back to what it was in the beginning. It's been polluted quite a lot, wouldn't you say?
Well, and I think it's great, because I think for me it's going to help a lot of smaller niche publications better monetize. We've seen over the past 10 years a lot of great publications have gone under because they just simply couldn't monetize themselves, because they were getting such small amounts for their ad inventory. And I think hopefully those are going to start to come back, and we'll get a greater number of interesting kind of voices and new publications springing up. That they can do better, and the big ones hopefully will be a little bit less greedy or a little bit less likely to publish clickbait. So there's just so many benefits from this. I'm just really excited to see it happen.
Yeah, and I'd just like to reiterate too that Constellation Network, the HGTP, which you'll soon see in your browser, folks, was designed to basically be a feeless network. Really, why the hypergraph transfer protocol was built as, a feeless network. It was meant to operate feelessly. And being the base layer protocol and the meeting place for all blockchains, layer 1, layer 2 smart contracts, side chains, whatever, every single one of these LOT token businesses is similar to buying stake in, I know I brought up gold before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Alchemy and their ads token is gold. It is built on the base layer of the Web3 protocol that we're about to see get integrated at the source globally. So if you can imagine every single industry that gets disrupted on this base layer protocol is going to be very valuable. stress that enough, and I hope that people wake up and realize that all these great guys from all these great different industries have sort of decided we're going to clean the world up, and we're going to all plug into the Constellation Network, and we're going to start holding people accountable one at a time. And the advertising is the one we're talking about today.
I mean, I think I'm super excited to see what the guys are going to do with Alchemy. I think honestly everyone's going to benefit from this. Like literally, you can do nothing, and hopefully in a year's time, you'll wake up and be online, and there'll just be less of that crap, less of that clickbait. Because publishers are getting paid what they should for their advert space, and they're publishing the stuff they should publish because they can afford to do that. And then if you're an advertiser, you're going to be getting your ads to the right people. You're going to be much more pleased with the amount of money you're spending for that. It's just one of these things that is just such a mutually beneficial ecosystem the guys are creating, and that's the kind of ecosystem people should be creating. So it's just wonderfully sustainable. So I'm just super excited.
What would you say for someone that's interested in investing in crypto, into this type of crypto? Where would they start? Which exchange, or they still have some updates that we need to be waiting on?
Okay. I think what you're asking me is how do they buy the ads token?
Yeah.
And basically, right now you can only buy it on Uniswap. It was on the Lattice Exchange Launchpad where it got its initial funding, and it had 2 pre-sales, right, Thomas?
Correct.
And then so the Lattice Launchpad was actually the 3rd pre-sale. And then what was the date, Thomas, that it listed on Uniswap?
I cannot remember. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It feels like a lifetime ago now. It's just been just crazy busy because people have been so excited about it.
Exactly. I want to say it was around the 25th of August, but I can't remember. So anyway, right now the only place to buy it is Uniswap. But as far as the roadmap is concerned, in the 4th quarter of this year, the token will be swapped out. Currently, it's an ERC20, and that's just in order to get the seed funding and get the ball rolling. And then we'll swap it out to an LOT token, and the state channel will migrate to the state channel probably in Q4. And then Q1, Q2 of next year, we will see the ad exchange go live. So people have time to get involved and purchase this token, and get as many as you can. I say that because I know that this is transformative, and it is easy. It's a plug and play. So why wouldn't all these advertisers and media companies and people participate when they're going to get more money for the dollar? And why wouldn't the consumers participate when they're going to make money leasing out their tokens to advertisers for bandwidth and whatnot? It's a win-win situation, but it's definitely a World Wide Web game changer.
So what if like someone is like trying to figure out and trying to do their own research with the company? How can I assure that this is not some type of rug pull, or if this is not a scam, if this is something where it's legit?
Thomas, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that you got to look into the background of the founders. I think it's always super important with one of these things. And these guys have top-notch backgrounds. They're all industry guys. Go look them up on LinkedIn. They've been around for years in the London advertising scene. My wife used to work with Neil, one of the founders, and I both vouch for him. He's a great guy. These guys are in it for the right reasons. They're in it for the long term. They will make this happen. If anyone's going to make this happen, it's them, and it's on the Constellation Network, so it's got all the right pieces.
Yeah, and I agree, and I do not think that the Constellation Network is going to be, just handing out projects, because they do a submission. You have to submit your idea and your proposal, and you have to get verified and whitelisted and background checked, and the important things that it takes in order to build on their system. So Alchemy went through all that process, and there's videos on Constellation YouTube channel where the guys introduce themselves and they talk about how nervous they were when they approached Constellation, and how they had to fight through the process of, like getting rejected and things like that, but they did it. and they hung in there, and everybody's on board. But I promise you, you just do some checking. That's what you do. Everybody's got to do their own research.
So if you could pick 3 Fortune 500 companies and just compare it to you guys, it's like Google, PayPal, and Facebook combined. I'm just making that up, but could you think of any 3 that you can kind of compare it to, which it may not be accurate, but at least it gives the average investor to be like, okay, I guess I understand what you guys are about.
Well, I mean, that's probably more technical, and Thomas could probably compare there. But I've heard many people say that it's bigger than Google. Google is an internet browser, like a search, engine or whatnot. But all of that is going to be on the hypergraph transfer protocol. So in reality, DAG is not a token, but it is a token economy, but they are actually a tech company. So you're looking at 2 big tech companies that just haven't got big yet. And anybody from an investing standpoint knows the early bird gets the worm. So if I was to tell you that you could buy Facebook for 20 cents a token or 20 cents a share, would you?
Yeah, I would.
Or Google?
Yeah.
Or anything else. And that's where I'm telling you these guys are headed. They're definitely headed there.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you some perspective of how big the industry is, it was about a $340 billion industry this year, digital advertising, and next year it's going to be about a $500 billion, so a $500 billion industry, and 95% of that digital advertising goes through programmatic ad exchanges, which is what Alchemy is. So they're already going through this kind of infrastructure. It's just a case of some of those publishers, some of those advertisers choosing to use Alchemy as part of that. And as I say, it's just an easy flick of a switch to use Alchemy rather than Google's ad exchange or AppNexus or something like that. So it's a massive total addressable market, and it's one that they can win very easily. So it's really exciting.
And I'd just like to throw out there, Neil was asked, does that mean you're going to go after Google? And he said, too fucking right, man.
So what if I tell my friend and I said, hey, you got to invest in this, and he says, why? I said, because it's they're going to be on the hypergraph transfer protocol or something, whatever you said. They're going to look at me like, okay, I don't understand what you're talking about. How would you simplify the hypergraph transfer protocol to make somebody excited about that? If I want to tell somebody to invest into this, if I tell them that, I think they're thinking I'm like some kind of techie guy, and I'm like, okay.
Right. Well, I mean, we've already talked about this earlier in the interview, but I'll tell you again. The hypergraph transfer protocol is the Web3 protocol of the world. It will be integrated like www.https or http, but it will be www.hgtp. Every single time that you do an internet search, it will. That's what you'll be getting here shortly. I can't say when. I don't know when I know this integration has already started, but Microsoft has to be involved. Google has to be involved. Splunk has to be involved. Decode Space ISAC has to be involved. There's a lot of parties involved with that kind of thing. Like, that's over my head, but I can tell you that's where we're headed. And so, I mean, if you ask me to explain how does the hypertext transfer protocol work, I couldn't really nail that down, but I can tell you that it works when they want it to work, and when they don't want it to work, you get a 404 code, page not found, or whatever code that you got. If you look up hypertext transfer protocol code errors, there's a lot of them. There's in the 100s, 200s, 300s, 500s. That's how many errors there are. And the hypergraph transfer protocol is in itself an accountability holder, because when you go to look for information that they've hidden from you and they throw up a code and tell you, oh, the information can't be found, well, that's just not playing fair. It's just not playing fair. I will make the decisions of, what I want to believe and what I don't want to believe, not someone else making that decision for me. And therefore, I want to do the same thing with my advertising. I'll decide what I want to let them know that I'm interested in buying, or whether, I'm not interested in buying it. I don't want them, because I said something in the background, for it to pop up on my computer. That has to be a voluntary action. You know how these little ads and analytics things are in the back of the phone, and it says, well, do you give permission for us to, reveal, anything about your, and you can turn that off and it still doesn't turn off. Just being honest with you. I'm looking for a new system going forward, and that's where we're headed.
So, like, my question with you, Thomas, is like, what do you say to people that will say, well, that's good, but I'd rather invest, as far as the token wise, well, I'd rather invest in Bitcoin, I'd rather invest in Ethereum, or anything in the top 100 of coin market cap, because a lot of these new coins, it sounds good in the white paper, talks about their plans, but you still don't know. That's why you should invest in like the more like the high caliber coins. And I always tell them, look, just diversify. But obviously y'all two know, y'all know what's up. Y'all did y'all's research.
And you're really just looking for a way to explain it. And really, it's the faster, the bigger, the better, the stronger are going to survive, right? And it's like, win Lambo. Well, guess what? The hypergraph transfer protocol is the Lambo. Alchemy is going to be the Lambo of advertising for the future, period. We talked about Bitcoin being only able to verify 4 transactions per second or something like that. Process 4 transactions per second or something. And then Ethereum, now they've got the EIP 1559 and the optimism and the this and the that, and they hope to eventually get to 100,000 transactions per second. But they recently had a chain fork by accident. It's got problems, and it operates on smart contracts, and those are very, very expensive. This is why at peak times we can't transfer our tokens or our money here or there or anywhere. It costs so much because the network can't handle the whole world's data, right? And it's not really environmentally friendly. I mean, poor Bitcoin, it gets a bad name because people say, oh, it takes a lot of energy. Well, it doesn't take a lot of energy. If you really do your research, Bitcoin is pretty eco-friendly in comparison to how banking is done across the world today, right? But you've got the people that don't want us to change our monetary system, that's going to throw Bitcoin under the bus. Well, they can't do that with the hypergraph transfer protocol. They can't do that with DAG, because DAG is the most eco-friendly. You're going to be running a $250,000 250,000 DAG collateralized node on a 4 gigabyte RAM computer. And pretty much any other protocol out there takes 12 gigabytes of RAM and all of this energy to run a node, right? And I can run 4 nodes from a virtual computer, and it costs pennies, like nothing. So that's the only way that I can tell you, why they should buy DAG and versus Bitcoin is because it's going to kill it from every aspect. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to kill it as in Bitcoin is going to die. I think Bitcoin is a value proposition, a holder, wealth, but it's not sustainable to process the world's data. It's just not.
So let me ask you a question. If I put $100 into the token, how much do you think it will be in 5 years?
Okay, so divide. I'm not great at math, but I'm going to give you an estimate. If you take the token and divide it by 20 cents, is that about what the token is priced at right now, Thomas?
31.
Okay.
Just to make your math harder.
Just to make your math harder. So take your $100 and divide it by 31 and tell me how many tokens you get. I'm waiting on you, BP.
Okay, let me get my calculator. $30 divided by 31.
No, you said $100 and you divide it by what the token costs, which is 31 cents. How many tokens are you going to get?
322.
Now multiply that times about $1,400 a token. And that's where I think it'll be in 5 years. Thomas, would you agree with that? I'm not a financial expert, but
I mean, I think that the great thing about it, going back to your question, BP, is that this token has real utility. Like, it's not just a coin that's priced based on scarcity. It's going to be used in order for advertisers to pay their fees. The more advertisers come on board, the more ads is needed to pay those fees, and consequently the price of the ad token will rise. So, in 5 years' time, when the major advertisers are all on board using this, absolutely, the token's going to be extremely valuable. And then right now, I'd say it's just at 31 cents. So, I'm not a financial advisor, but, I'd say upward is the way it's going to go.
Well, you know what? I definitely have to invest into this because, if I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel and I didn't invest and it blows up, they're going to make fun of me. They're like, you're the one that interviewed them, you didn't even... My question is, here's another question, okay? If you could actually finish this sentence. My only fear is if this happens. ... What are some fears? Of course, everything is a risk in crypto, right? That's why we always say we think this is the best thing ever since sliced bread, but not financial advice. And why do we say that? Because we can't predict the future. What are some of the fears you think the companies like, we have a competition coming up, like someone's trying to compete with us, or, we all want to be positive, but we also have to look at the other side of the coin.
the main thing I do when I invest is exactly what Thomas said. I'm looking for the problems they're solving and the solution and how sustainable it is. Is there utility involved? Many of the crypto projects don't have utility and intrinsic value, so to speak. They have no purpose, so I'm not going to be investing in something that doesn't fix a real world problem. Again, I look at it from a humanity lens. I'm looking at everything that I invest in with that lens. Is it going to help society? That's it.
How long
if it's going to help society.
So how long has this business been going on, and have they been already audited through Certic or any other type of auditing?
Okay, so on audited, they'll be audited. The coding and everything will be audited before it, is released, and it'll probably be some type of test net, right, Thomas?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So coding will be audited and audited and audited again. DagTech is not hackable, but a wrongly coded state channel could be hackable, and that's when you're talking about audits. That's what I think about. I think about, program language and most of the smart contracts that are out there are a if-then type of, scenario. In other words, a simple exchange is if you do this, I'll do this. This is why it's called a contract. It's a two-way situation. Whereas the state channel coding is a whole host of data types and programming and different scenarios, and that's what makes a state channel so great, is it can do way more complex in how you can structure a business in a state channel is like a super smart contract. It's unbelievable. It does a lot more than a just simple math equation.